What's up with all the tattoos, man? What's going on? You got.
What? You want to know the truth?
Yes, I want to know the truth.
Blueface walked out that prison gate looking like a whole new character, and people clocked it fast.
All right, brother. I got tired of my face, man. I had that face for 28 years. I wanted a new face.
The vibe felt switched. Those scattered brand logos blasted across his face, that strange blank stare, the stiff body language.
Second to myself, man. Get out of here. You know what I mean?
None of it lined up with the dude the internet thought it knew. It wasn't just he gained a little weight or he looks tired. It was the overall frequency, off-kilter, subdued, almost like a reset version of the same person. That's why a lot of folks immediately said, nah, something happened to him in there. And this is where Katt Williams' warnings start creeping back in.
Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully.
He's been talking for years about so-called humiliation rituals, how the machine breaks people down, repackages them, and tosses them back out looking and acting like a controlled puppet. Suddenly, Blueface steps out, stamped up and strangely muted, and a chunk of the internet goes, this is exactly what Katt was talking about.
Bro, if you seen this, forgive me, man. This is a true apology.
If you're new here and want balanced breakdowns that separate claims from receipts, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the follow-ups as this unfolds.
I took a couple classes in there too.
For real?
Yep, Civilization University. I went to school for that.
Now, some people try to shut the whole thing down by saying Blueface isn't big enough for any shadowy group to waste resources on. But that argument kind of misses the point. The rumor floating around isn't necessarily that he's the center of the ritual, it's that he'd be the example. A walking billboard that says, this person is owned, he belongs to somebody way above his pay grade. Whether you believe that framework or not, the idea alone had timelines going wild because it fits a broader pattern people swear they've seen before. Dramatic public marks, a visible transformation, and a sudden shift in behavior that doesn't match the old brand. The honest question is whether the internet is overreaching with humiliation ritual talk or noticing a pattern we're not supposed to acknowledge. Because when you line up the timing, the look, and the weird behavioral switch, it sits very close to the playbook Katt's been warning about for years. Let's lay out the basics, minus the hype. Blueface went in sounding and moving like the same guy we'd all watched for years. Unfiltered, chaotic, back-and-forth drama. Turn on the camera energy. After a relatively quiet stretch, that first inside photo leaked, and most people shrugged. Looked like he put on some pounds, nothing alarming. But the day he walked out in early November, everything flipped. Within hours, we saw new photos and clips. A face blanketed in tattoos, patchwork placement, brand names, and acronyms stamped across the forehead, cheeks, jaw, Chase, Walgreens, MLB, YSL, random, clashing, almost like someone pressed a handful of corporate stickers on him and said, hold still. It wasn't cohesive. It wasn't art-directed. It looked deliberately chaotic. And alongside the ink, people pointed to his eyes. They read flat to some, like the light behind them had dimmed. His movements looked stiff, the energy unusually low, and even the way he was styled felt off. Gaining weight explains the silhouette. It doesn't explain a whole aura shift. A lot of viewers described it as, that man is carrying something he can't say out loud. Street-level theories popped immediately. One of the most common, he was pressured by prison gangs to get those face tattoos, a thing that does happen inside, sometimes purely for domination or jokes, sometimes for politics. The logic goes that he played along because he wasn't trying to end up in anyone's personal corner, if you catch the drift. Survival decisions aren't always pretty, and plenty of formerly incarcerated folks will tell you. Sometimes you do the thing you hate because the alternatives are worse. That take would explain the lack of aesthetic cohesion and the random logos. If the point was humiliation or control, ugly and obvious is part of the point. But then there's the other angle, the one that keeps the conspiracy engines humming. You remember Katt's dress commentary, right? He said in multiple interviews that certain entertainers get nudged or pushed into wearing a dress for cameras. According to him, it's never about the fabric. It's about the symbolism, submission. The outfit is the instrument. The humiliation is the message. Extend that logic, And the tool doesn't have to be a dress. It could be public embarrassment, bizarre styling, random body modification, forced scandals, or out-of-character stunts. The common thread is control. Katt ties it to powerful elites with ugly intentions, keeping entertainers compliant by breaking them in front of everyone. You don't have to believe in any dark art stuff to accept a simpler version. The entertainment business has a long history of exploiting trauma, commodifying chaos, and using shame as leverage. Or as Kanye once put it, the goal is to control, traumatize, and monetize. Grab the pain, spin it into content, cash the checks, and send the talent back on stage like nothing happened. If you've paid attention to enough careers, you've seen elements of that play out. No invisibility cloaks required. Katt was talking mostly about Hollywood, but power is power wherever it lives. It can wear a suit in a high-rise, or blues in a cell block, or street clothes in a hallway, whether it's corporate brass, a clout-hungry manager, or the people who run the prison machine, and some argue those worlds overlap more than we admit. The method doesn't really change. If they want to humble you, reshape you, or turn you into a public message, they'll do it in a way everyone can see. That's why so many viewers connect Blueface's post-release look to the humiliation narrative, because the marking is the point. Make it so public, so undeniable, that the audience understands who's in charge without a word being said. For believers, Gucci Mane is Exhibit A. He came home so transformed that clone talk still circulates years later. Whether you buy clones or not, the theater of change, body, vibe, schedule, speak when spoken to, feels familiar. Here's the colder theory people repeat in hushed tones. You take a celebrity already in chaos, already slipping, drowning in drama, and surrounded by yes men, and you push them to the edge, not to destroy them completely, but to crack something essential inside. Then you isolate them. Nothing isolates like prison. You're stripped down, routines replace rhythms, and the only thing you control is your reaction. Blueface went in loud. The man who walked out looks to a lot of viewers like someone whose spirit got siphoned. Quieter, slower, carrying a weight you can't see. That's when the tattoos become more than tattoos. One camp says he didn't choose that look, period. Those logos were forced by inmates who wanted entertainment or dominance. The other, more conspiratorial camp says the logos aren't random at all. They're coded signals meant for insiders. In that reading, every humiliation cycle comes with a visual trigger the public can't decode, but they can. Britney shaving her head mid-meltdown, masking up through entire media cycles, Orlando Brown saying everything that crossed his mind on camera, and now Blueface face-stamped like a travel suitcase. When the signal drops, insiders supposedly get the memo. He's been processed. Let's pump the brakes and add nuance, because that's what we do here. There are real-world explanations that don't require secret handshakes. Incarceration is brutal. People survive however they can. Some accept things they'd never accept outside to avoid worse outcomes. Tattoos done with crude tools look crude. That's not symbolism. That's the reality of a dirty needle and a shaky hand. Mental health can fracture under pressure. Sleep deprivation and constant hypervigilance can flatten affect. Eyes read empty because the nervous system is fried. Weight gain from a different diet and low-key depression is common after release. Also, re-entry is awkward. You go from a hyper-controlled environment to a world that moved on without you. You're supposed to smile, explain, rebuild, and monetize the moment, often while you're still dissociating. If his energy reads off, the boring explanation might be the truest. He went through something that changed him. He's dealing with it, and he doesn't owe strangers the details. Still, the humiliation ritual narrative won't die because it fits a lot of public arcs. The cycle looks like this: a shocking act or reveal, a flood of ridicule memes, a lesson or rebrand, a quietly compliant phase. The person who pushed boundaries becomes a version that's easier to book, sponsor, manage, and predict. Even if there's no grand puppet master, the outcome is similar. Break the image, then sell the rebuild. That's why people keep citing pattern-matching examples. The shaved head, the mask era, the forced apology tour, the "he's different now" interviews. None of that proves Blueface was processed by a cabal, but it does prove the public has watched enough transformations to suspect the worst when they see another one. Let's talk symbols, because that's where believers lean in. Why logos? Why corporate brands? Conspiracy-minded viewers argue that stamping banks, Pharmacies, leagues, or fashion initials across a face looks like property marks, like a splashy reminder that the same forces that move culture also profit from its chaos. More grounded observers say the opposite. Random logos are what you get when bored people with a contraband needle want to be obvious, not subtle. If the goal was to make him look clownish, you wouldn't hire a portrait artist. You'd go messy and loud. Both readings are possible. What matters is how it lands. People saw the photos and felt the power dynamic instantly, even if they disagreed on who, exactly, wielded it. There's also the uncomfortable truth that fans often want artists to be their old selves forever. They want the exact tone, the exact volatility, the exact chaotic humor that made the brand explode. When life punches an artist in the gut, legal trouble, family stress, financial fires, and they come back quieter, heavier, slower, the audience reads clone, zombie, or broken. Sometimes it's none of those. Sometimes it's just a person who's tired. But when the change is dramatic and the visuals are jarring, conspiracy thrives. If you want follow-ups that weigh both sides, street talk versus documented facts, make sure you're subscribed. We'll keep receipts separate from rumors as this story shifts. So where does that leave us? With a handful of competing explanations. 1, he was pressured inside and accepted tattoos he didn't want to avoid worse outcomes. 2, he chose a chaotic aesthetic as a statement, even if that seems unlikely to many. 3, he was processed into a humiliation phase, either by the culture machine at large or by smaller power blocks inside that environment, to make him an example. 4, a mix of all three, plus mental health friction, weight changes, and re-entry shock. None of those require you to believe in underground labs or a hooded council. All of them acknowledge how power works in public. The clearest through line is control. Who has it, who lost it, and how the rest of us can tell. If Katt Williams' larger point is right, that humiliation is a tool of control, then the message of a spectacle like this would be simple. We can break anybody. We can mark you. We can quiet you. We can make the public watch, laugh, and move on. Whether you think that message came from a prison tier, a boardroom, or the broader attention economy, the effect is the same. A human being steps out, and the internet argues about whether the light in his eyes looks different. That alone tells you how numb we've gotten to people being turned into content. Now I want your read. Is the humiliation ritual talk doing too much here, or is the pattern impossible to ignore? Do you think he ran into the wrong crowd and did what he had to do to stay safe? Or was this a forced branding, a signal meant for the industry and not for us? If Katt's been telling the truth about these cycles, what exactly are they trying to say by breaking celebs down one after another? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want the next update the moment new footage or statements land, hit subscribe and turn on alerts so you don't miss the filings from court, the interviews from inside, or the on-record corrections we always flag. Like, share, and stay locked in. We'll keep the analysis honest and the speculation labeled, and I'll see you in the next one.